Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. In last video, I've shown you how to design this login API and also I've shown you how to implement the JWT token in your application. So I have bypassed these two APIs, that is Signup and Login API, so that we don't need any JWT token in order to access these two APIs because these are open APIs. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to actually get all users and update the user, like we want to approve and reject these type of stuff. We are going to actually write the API to enable and disable the account basically. So let's start with that. So first I'm going to write one API to get all user. For that, what we have to do is we have to create one wrapper. So right click on this and we click on new and just click on this Java class, and I'm going to name this one user wrapper. So if you haven't watched the previous videos, then you can just go to description of this video. You will find the complete link, the previous, and if you are watching this video after a while, then you will find the next video link also in the description of this video. So you can refer that in order to work with the previous video or to the next video. Okay, so let's just start with this. So first thing what we have to do is we have to declare some variables into this one in order to store the data into that particular variable. So first I'm going to write this integer, and this will be of type ID. Sorry, the name is ID and it's type of integer. So if I move into this one, here we will see we need all the data, whatever the data you need for that same, I'm going to create the variable. So I need ID, name, email number, email ID, number, name, password, and status. These things I want: ID, name. After that I need email, contact number, and finally the status. These 5 stuff I want. So for the same, I'm going to declare the variables over here. So integer ID, you can declare it private like this, so that you can access with the getter and setters only. So private, and I'm going to declare another variable that is name of type string, and it is name. Another variable private, that is email. Another variable is contact number. Another variable is status. And we have to create the appropriate constructor for this. Or next thing what we have to do is we have to add an annotation over here that is of data. This is from the Lambok. We have previously added all the dependencies in this project for our dependency are required. So in the previous video description, I have put one link in order to download all the dependencies which I have added in this project. Okay, so what this data does is it automatically generate getter setters for each of the variables which is declared over here. So what is getter and setters? You can generate like this: alt insert, and just click on this. If I generate one getter and setter for the name, so click on this. Here you can see this: get the name and set the name. So this boilerplate code is automatically handled with the help of this single annotation, that is data, and default constructors is also provided with the help of this Lambok annotation data. So I don't need this boilerplate code because I already have added this at the data annotation. So next thing what I'm going to do is I'm going to design one constructor which is required on the basis of my query. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on alt insert and click on constructor. I'm going to select all of these like ID, name, email, contact number, and status. Just click on OK. It will automatically generate one query, sorry, the constructor over here. And if you want to put 0-hour constructor, then either you can declare something like this: public user wrapper, something like this, or you can add one more annotation, that is @no constructor, like this. It's showing an error because we have already declared one constructor over here. So if I delete this one and if I move back to the top here, you can see this. Now none of the issues is being shown over here. So just save it. Next thing what we have to do is, now the wrapper is ready. Next thing what I want to do is I want to set the data into this wrapper, because for each user there is one wrapper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the data into the list of user wrappers. So just move to this user rest, and here what I'm going to do is I'm going to just create one new API, that is @get mapping. And for this one I'm going to keep the path /get, and it will be public response entity of type list of user wrapper, which we have created. And I'm going to name this one get all user, like this. Now this one is defined over here. So this is the interface, so we need to implement it in the user rest temple. So if I move back over here, go to the bottom and make some space over here, you can see this is showing an error because it will ask us to implement. So just click on this, click on OK, it will automatically add this one. After this, what we have to do is we have to handle the exception over here. So just delete this line, return null, put the code into the try catch block, and exception ex. Next thing what we have to do is we have to print the exception if anything occurs. Else we want to return, if anything occurs, then we want to return some message. So new response entity, and I'm going to return empty list array. So list of user wrapper over here, user wrapper, and I'm going to return a new array list. If anything happens, then I'm going to return an empty array list, and HTTP status will be something went wrong, or it will be something went wrong, default error message, internal server error. So like this. Okay, next thing what we have to do is we have to actually return some value. So as I've already told you that on the REST temple we only handle the exception, no actual logic is written over there. Here actual logic we are going to write in the user service temple, the implementation class. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to return user service dot get all user. This one is showing an error because we don't have this get all user in this service. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move back over here and I'm going to add one. So response entity, and it will be of list of user wrapper, like this, and it will be get all user, like this one. So now if I move back over here, user rest temple, here you can see this, now the error is gone from this. But if we move back over here, one related problem is visible because we have not implemented this method into this user service temple. So if I move back over here, make some space, and next thing what we have to do is we have to write the query for this one. So what we have to do is we have to so here we have to implement that method. So if I move back to the top and click on this, click on implement method and click on OK, it will automatically implement that method. So first thing we have to handle it for the exception. So try, and we have to put this catch block. So exception ex and ex dot print start rest, like this one. After this, if anything happens, then again I want to return an empty error list. So response entity, and it will be response entity, and it will be new array list, new array list, like this one. And HTTP status code will be internal server error, something like this. Return new response entity. Now the error is gone. Next thing what we have to do is to get all user, we have to write one query. So if I move back over here to the DAO section, we have user DAO. So double click on this, and here we have to write one query. So I'm going to write one query which is going to return a list of type user wrapper, and I'm going to name this one get all user. You can name anything as per your choice, but I'm going to name this one as it is. Next thing, we have written define the query, the interface, the method of this one over here. Next thing, we have to implement this one. So for that we have to write the query into this user. So I've already explained how this works in the previous video, so please watch that once again. and let me know if you have any queries. So I'm going to write one name query. So name is equal to, and I'm going to name the same as whatever name I have given it over here. So get all users, just copy this and move back over here, and within the double quotes dot, and then put the name, and before this we have to put the class name, so user. So if I put it like this, next thing what we have to do is we have to write the query. So I'm going to write the query over here. So here what you have to write is, we have to write something like this: select, and what are the values we want to select. But before that we have to set those values into the constructor. So new, and we have to specify the complete path for that class in which we want to set the value. So if I move back to the user wrappers, just copy this one, this path, and move back to this Pojo, paste it over here, dot the wrapper name. So the wrapper class name, so user wrapper. So just copy this one and move back over here, user, and just paste it, and within the double brackets, whatever the values you want to select, you can mention it over here. So select new com.in.cafe.wrapper.user wrapper from the table name. So from, it will be user u, where u.role is equal to user, like this. So we want to select all the user whose role is user, not admin. Okay, so what is happening over here? So we have, suppose we want to create the constructor, we have to actually create the object of this class. Then how we create? User wrapper, like this one, user wrapper, user is equal to new user wrapper. And if you want to set the values with the help of constructor, like I want to set these values, then I can pass the IDs over here. So ID1, the name will be something ABC, the email will be abc@gmail.com, and the contact number will be something like this one, and the status is false, something like this. So if we create an object like this, then automatically this one, here you can see this, you can observe that this is not showing an error now because it matches the constructor over here. I have these 5 argument constructor, and here you can see this matches. That's why it's not showing error. The same thing I'm doing over there in the Pojo, but with this specified name. So like this one, new, this one, like this. And if I put like this, still it will not show an error. So if you observe that this much part I have written into this user, do com.in.cafe.wrapper.get user wrapper, and this is a constructor. In this I want to pass those values, whatever value you want to set. So let me just revert these changes because I don't need it over here. Okay, so now move back to the user, and here we have to select the values. Make sure you select in the same order for this argument. Like select, if we have ID on the first, so we have to select the ID first, then name, then email, then contact number. Otherwise you will get the data in the different keys. Okay, so just move back over here, and sorry, not here, into the Pojo, and here we have to write u.id comma, the second value I want to select that u.name, and whatever the u.name, if you want to select the name, then you have to give this name, this one, the variable which is declared, not this one which is in the inside this @ column. Okay, so this is a SQL query, so it identify the column with the help of this variable. So we have to mention this variable in the query. Okay, so u.id, u.name. Next thing we have u.email, u.contact, and n is capital. So if I move back over here, you can observe this n is capital. Okay, contact number. Next thing we have u.status. Now our query is ready. So we have selected 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 values. For the same, we have declared the constructor over here for the 5 values, that is ID, name, email, and contact number, and status. So now our query is ready. Next time we have to move to this user service ample, and here what we have to do is we have to complete the code. So first thing what I want is only admin can actually access all the users. For that, we have already defined one method, that is admin, into this one. So let me just open it. Yeah, here we go. So here we have defined it one method in the JWT filter class, that is admin. With the help of token, we extract the role from that token, and we set that we check with this one. Okay, we check that if the role for that particular user is admin, then we can move further. Okay, so what we have to do is, if we move back over here, let me just check that if we have auto wired the JWT util. Yeah, we have it. So move down over here. So if only admin can access this API, then we have to check for JWT util dot is wait for a minute, JWT. Okay, we need to create an object of JWT filter actually. So move back over here, JWT filter. So at the rate auto wired JWT filter, like this, and go below over here, JWT filter dot is admin. If this is not an admin, then what I want to do, so if this is not an admin, then I want to return new response entity and new array list, and I'm going to send the status code, that is http status dot unauthorized, like this one. So let's try this, if this API work, if this API will work. So let me start this and move back to this user list so that I can see the context, that is /user/get. So we haven't bypassed this get API. So if we move back over here, you can observe that our application is up and running on port 8081. So if I go to the Postman, and first what we have to do is we have to hit the login API in order to get the token. So before that, we got the token, we are going to hit our API, that is user/get. So I'm going to copy this and move back over here and just delete this much part and hit this API. This is of get type, and here you can see this 403, that is forbidden. It means that we don't have authentication to access this. So first I'm going to hit this login API. So if I move back to the database, here you can see this, we have 3 role already in the database with the name user, with the role user, and user. So if I move back over here, we already have some data set. So email is tom@gmail.com and password is 123456. So I move back over here, so we have this one set. Okay, so next thing what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this API, and here we got the token. So I'm going to copy this token, move back over here, and the headers authentication, we have to select this JWT, where it goes, bearer token actually. So we can paste the token over here and just try to hit once again. So get, here you can see this 401 unauthorized with empty array list. It means that we have the role user. So if I move back to the code and go to the user service sample, here you can see this. For now, if we decrypt this token, then we will find that the role is user. So if I go over here, and if I go to the jwt.io and hit enter and move back over here, I already copied the token. So if I paste it, and here you can see this role is user, that's why we can't able to access. So next thing, I'm going to make some modification into this one, so that if admin is available, then we want to enter into this one. So if we enter, we want to return all the values which contains the role of user. So return new response entity, and we're going to call this user DAO, this get all user. So we already have auto wired this user DAO. Here you can see this. So with the help of that, I can access that. So user DAO get all user, and I'm going to return the HTTP status to OK, like this one. And if I move back to the database, and I'm going to update this the role for this one. So update update user, set role is equal to admin, where id is equal to 2. Okay, now if I move back over here, before we move back, let me just select once again. So you can see this, the role is admin. So now if I move back over here, I'm going to try to hit once again. This is 401 unauthorized. So I'm going to click on this. Okay, sorry, we haven't started our application, so just start it. So now our application is up and running on port 8081. So let me just move back over here and hit this API, and okay, so this is still 401 because we are using the old token. So if I move back over here and hit once again, we got a new token for the same Tom because the role is changed. Now if I copy this and move back to this one and just paste it over here, and you can see this, now the role is changed, that is admin. So if I move back into this one, and I'm going to change this token over here and just send this one. So the status code is 200. Okay, and here you can see this ID, name, email, contact number, and status is visible over here. So everything is visible now. This GET API is working, and without bypassing this API. Next thing what we have to do is we have to create another API, which is update API, to approve and enable and disable the account, and we are going to also see how to send the email whenever the account is enabled. Okay, so we move to the user rest, and this time we are going to declare another, that is update. This will be the post mapping. So @post mapping, and the path for this one will be update. Okay, this will be public response entity, and this is going to return simply a string, and I'm going to name this one update, and I need a request body. By default this is required is equal to true, but still I love to specify it explicitly so that if I want to change it, so this strikes in mind that if you want to change it. Okay, so next thing, it will accept one map of a string comma string. I'm going to name this one request map, like this. Okay, now we have declared this, so we have to implement it over here. So just move back over here, just click on this one, and it will show a message to implement it. So just click on this and click on OK, and now here we go. Next thing, we have to put the code into the try catch block. So try catch and exception ex, and inside this one we have to print the exception if anything happens. And next thing, we have to return the message. If anything happens, then we want to return the default message that is something went wrong. In that case, we are going to use the cafe utils which we have created in the previous video. So return cafe utils dot get response entity, and inside this one we have to pass cafe constant dot something went wrong, and inside this one we have to pass the http status code of internal server error, that is 500. You can check the status code by simply pressing the Ctrl key and click on this one. It will show the error code, status code. Okay, next thing, if everything goes right, then we have to simply call return, and this is user service dot update, not this one, update actually, and we have to pass the request map like this. It will show an error because we haven't defined this method update in this user service, so I'm going to define it right away. So here what we have to do is we have to simply write response entity, and this is of type string. Okay, and I'm going to name this one update, and this one is going to accept one map of string comma string, and this will be request map, like this one. And here we go, now the error is gone. Next thing, we will have one issue because we haven't implemented it. So if I move back over here, and here we have to implement this part. implement method, click on OK, and here we go. Next thing what we have to do is, first I want to put the code into the try catch block, so I'm going to do that fast. Catch exception ex.print star trace, and the next thing is return cafe utils dot get response entity and cafe constants dot something went wrong, and http status is internal server error. Now this much code is done. Next thing, we have to again check for the admin. So if jwt filter dot is admin, if not, then we want to return that unauthorized status. Okay, so return cafe utils dot get response entity cafe constants dot okay, so we don't have any constant declared right now into this one, so I'm going to declare one constant. So if I move back over here, so public static final string, and I'm going to declare one variable that is unauthorized access. Like this one, or whatever message you want to print. So if I move back over here and use this unauthorized access dot http status dot unauthorized, like this one, if the user is not admin. If user is admin, then what I want to do, I want to update it. So first what we have to do is we have to check that if that particular user actually exists in our database or not. So for that, I'm going to write one query, or we can simply use user DAO.find by ID, and so this one we have to pass the ID. So integer dot parse int, and the request map we are going to get the ID. So get and ID. This request map dot get ID will return a type of string, and we have converted that string with the help of integer.parseInt to integer type with the help of this one. So when we fire this query, it will return a user object. Okay, so that will be of type optional, so I'm going to accept it into that one. So optional, and it's type of user, and I'm going to name this one optional is equal to like this. If for that ID, if user exists, then we can perform any operation. If that user doesn't exist with that ID, then we can simply throw an error or some message to the user. So if not optional is empty, then we want to process with the update enable and disable process, else I want to return some message. So cafe utils dot get response entity, and I want to send some message. So that is user ID doesn't exist, like this, and status will be okay, like this one. Okay, so now if that user doesn't exist, if we don't get any data corresponding to that ID. If we got the data, then we have to update that data on the basis of particular ID, or particular on the basis of that ID. So next thing what we have to do is we have to write the query, that is update user DAO dot update status, which we have to write this query. So I'm going to write this query. So update status, and we have to pass the required data like status and for which ID we want to update. Okay, so we move back over here to the project and we move to this user DAO, and here we have to declare that whatever the query you are going to write. So if I move back over here, and it will return an integer, and I'm going to name this one update status, and it's going to accept two arguments. One is the status and another is the ID. So this will be status and another is @param, that is ID, and it will be of type integer, so integer and it is ID, something like this. Next thing what we have to do is with the same name we have to write the query into this one. So we go back to the user and make some space over here, and @named query name, and it will be user dot, we have to paste the query name, query is equal to, and we have to write the update query. So update user u set u dot status is equal to, we have to use status where u dot id is equal to colon id, like this. And we missed one small stuff. What is that? Whenever we write any query to update, then we have to mention @transactional and modifying over here. So transactional and @modifying. If you don't put these two, then you can't able to use this. This will throw an exception. So this is showing an error because in the user server simple we haven't passed anything into this one, and it's expecting two arguments. So I'm going to extract the values from this request map. So let's do that. So request map dot get, and we have to put the key in which we are expecting the values. So we're going to extract it from status, and the second is we need integer value, that is id, integer dot parse int, and we need to extract it from request map dot get id, like this. So once this data is updated, we want to return some message. So for that I'm going to use this return. So here we missed the return something like this. Return cafe utils dot get response entity. Inside this one we have to pass user status updated successfully, and with the status code of 200, so status http status code and .ok, something like this. So let's test this, and after that we are going to implement the mail functionality into this one. Whenever any user is updated by any particular admin, then we are going to send the email to all of the admins available in our database. So let's start this and just run it. So move back over here, and here you can see this, the status is true. I'm going to enable the status for this one, that is ID1, and for this one. So our API is changed. So just copy this one and move back over here. This time we have this post, just paste it, and in the body we have to mention the values which we want to pass. So just select this body, select this one raw, and select this one to JSON. So like this, we need two values, that is one is ID and another is status. So ID, and we have status. So ID I want to update to 1, and I want to change this one to true. So if I click on this, it will not work because we haven't added the token. So if I move back over here, just copy this token will expire in 10 hours, and we are admin, so we can use this. So move back over here, go to the auth and select this one, bearer token, and paste it over here, and just try to, for now you can see this, the status is false. So if I move back over here and just click on this one, okay, 405 method not allowed. Okay, so this is get, we haven't changed this one to update. So if I click on this one, and here you can see this unauthorized access. Okay, let's check this and move back over here, just paste it. So this is admin, but still is showing an error. So move back over here. Let's check the code. So default filter dot is user. This is admin actually. So just restart our application. Now our server is up and running. So click on this and user status updated successfully. If I move back over here and select start once again, now here you can see this one is true. So now this user is enabled. So next thing what I want is I want to send the email if suppose tom@gmail.com has enabled this user. So I want to send an email to all the admins available in my database that this Tom has enabled this user, that is btechdays.pay@gmail.com. So how to do that? For that, what we have to do is we have to write one method, which that method is going to return some of the data. So these are the query which is fired when we click or hit any particular API. Okay, so let me just minimize it and make some space over here before we return the message I want to send the email. So I'm going to type name this one, send mail to all admin, and this one we have to pass this request map dot get status. I will tell you why I'm passing the status over here, and optional dot get email. After this, I'm going to pass this user DAO dot get all user, not all user, get all admin, because I need to access all the admins. So just close like this. It will show an error for now. I'm going to just copy this much part and move back to this project and user DAO, and we have to put it over here. The same this one. So just copy this, paste it over here like this one, and get all. If I move back to this user, we have to simply copy this one and paste it over here once again. And next thing, at the last, we have to change this user to admin. Now our query is ready, and okay, so in this we need only the email IDs, so we don't need these stuff. We can simply type u.email and it will return a list of string like this. So we move back over here to the user service simple, and if we move back over here, you can see that this error is gone from here, but this one still like remains because we have to write one method over here. Okay, so I'm going to just copy this one, or you can simply hover over this and create a method, this one. And here you can see this. Now this method is created, or you can manually type it. Before we work on the send mail to all admin, we have to actually add some properties over here. So if I move back over here and make some space, and here what we have to do is we have to simply add some property into this one, that is spring dot mail dot host is equal to, and here we have to type smtp.gmail.com. Next thing, spring dot mail dot port, and we have to mention the port, that is 587. Next thing, we have to mention the spring dot mail dot username, and I'm going to mention the username. This username is actually the actual email ID from which you are going to send the mail to the all users. So I'm going to use this Amit Kumar x31@gmail.com, and we have to pass the password also. So mail dot password. So I'm not going to show you the password for sure. Next thing, spring dot mail dot pro properties dot mail dot smtp dot auth is equal to true. Next thing, we have to set one more property, that is spring dot mail dot properties dot smtp dot start tls dot enable is equal to true, like this. I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to type the actual password which is required over here in order to work with it, and we will meet on this page. So if I move back over here, just pause it, and we are back. So now we have added the property. Next thing what we have to do is we have to create one utility class. So if I move back over here, right click on this and write one class, and this will be email URLs. Click enter, and here we have to add the annotation that is @service in order to make the bean of this one. So if I make some space and @autowire, first thing I want to autowire this private Java mail sender, because for this one we have already added the dependencies. So this is email sender, like this one. Make some space, and I'm going to declare one method that is public void send simple message, like this one. And this is going to accept some argument. First, that is string to whom you want to send. Second, string subject. Third is string text, and to whom you want to send. String list. Alt enter and open and close this one. So first we will use a simple mail message, this one, and message is equal to new simple message, like this. And we have to set some property into this one. So message dot set from, so from which user you want to send the email. So I'm going to type btechdays.care@gmail.com, and message dot set to, and I want to set to 2, whatever the values which is being passed over here. Next thing we have to set the subject. So message dot set subject, and to this one we have to pass the subject, like this. Message. Next thing we want to set the text, set text, and to this one we want to set the text, whatever the data you want to send in the email. Next thing, we have this list of data. So this list of data, we have to convert this list into array in order to set into this message.cc. If I want to set this one to message.setcc, and it will not accept this list, like this, it will show an error. So for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write one method that is private, and it will return a string array and get cc array. I'm going to name this method, and it will accept list of string, and this is cc list, like this one. And we will type on string cc is equal to new string, and so this one we have to pass the cc list dot size. For the same size, I have created the array. And next thing, we have to iterate through using loop. So int I is equal to 0, I should be less than cc list dot size and I plus plus. And whenever it will iterate, I want to set the values to the cc. So cc I is equal to, and we have to get the values from cc list dot get at I. And finally, we have to return the cc, like this. Now we have to simply call this one. So get cc array, and inside this one we have to pass the list. Now here you can see this. Now the error is resolved. Next thing what we have to do is we have to check that if that list is actually contains some data or not. So if list is not equal to null and list dot size is greater than 0, and I have pressed serial alt L in order to format it. So we have one line of code after this if block, so we can simply write like this without the curly braces. If you like to use the curly braces, then you can use. So after this, now we have set all the values whatever we want. We have to simply send this mail with the help of this email sender dot send, and we want to send this message like this one. So now the task for this one is done. Next thing what we have to do is we have to move back to this user service ample, and say this one we have to start working on this send mail to all admin. So make some space over here, and here first I want to remove the current user. So list, that is all admin list. Okay, all admin dot remove current user, jwt filter dot get current user, because for this current user I'm going to send that to I'm going to pass the current user to 2 of that method, and we don't want to send the same mail twice to a same user. So for that we're going to remove first from this list, because when we fetch it will return all the admins. Even if we have these, we have other admins over here, then it will return all of that users. So if I move back to this one, and now we have removed it, after that we will check for the status. On the basis of that we will actually return the different messages. So if status is not equal to null and status dot equals ignore case is true, then I want to send the enable mail message, else I want to send the disable mail message. So make some space, and here I want to use that method which we have created in the email utils. So we have to create one auto wire. We have to auto wire the email util. So make some space over here and auto wire email utils like this. Go to the bottom of this one, and we have to use email utils dot send simple mail, and inside this one we have to pass this 2 first. Here you can observe that is string 2. So jwt filter dot get current user, this is the current user email ID from the token. And next thing we have to pass, if here you can see this true means that account is enabled, it means that account is approved. So account approved, this is the message which you want to show. So account approved, and we have to set this one. So user colon dash, make some space, plus user plus slash n, change the line, is approved by slash n, and we have to pass the admin this is user, okay, is admin, and we can pass the current user like this. You can use it jwt filter dot get current user like this one. And okay, this is the second message, and after that we have to pass the list actually. So we have to pass it like this one, current user, and we have to pass the list all admin actually like this one. Not this one, this is simply a list, so we have to pass like this. So send simple build, first we have send the current user email, and after that status, that is account approved, this is the subject, Then the text, what we want to show to the user. So user, and then the user email address over here is approved by admin, then admin email address, and we have to send it to all admins. So like this. And second thing, in the else condition, we have to change the same message, copy paste, and we have to change it to account disabled over here. And the second last thing is disabled by admin this. Okay, so next thing what we have to do is, now we have everything is done and everything is on place, and here you can see this. Now the send mail is being called from here, and in the database, if you can see, we have only one admin user, so I'm going to add one more admin over here. So move to the Postman, and here we have the API, that is localhost 8081/user/signup. In the previous video, I have shown you how to use this, and here we have Ajax and like this. So I'm going to add one btechdays, and if I move back to this website, that is melanator.com, and here we go. We have created one email with this btechdays@melanator.com. So if I hover over this, it will show if you want to send any message, then btechdays@melanator.com. So if I move back over here, not this one, over here, the Postman, I'm going to use this btechdays, and I'm going to use the same phone number, and btechdays@melanator.com, MAL something. Let me just copy this melanator.com from here and just move back over here, not to here, send the Postman, just paste it and send it. So if I move back to this one, select start from user, the melanator.com, btechdays@melanator.com is over here, but the role is user by default, so we have to update it. So let me just use that query, update where ID is equal to 4. Just hit enter, and if I select now, so we have this, and again I'm going to use this Tom is also user, admin user, so I'm going to update the email ID for him. So tom@melanator.com. So I'm going to copy this much part and use this to, not the role, I want to update the email this time. So email is equal to like this, tom@melanator.com. So if I move back to this one, if I try to duplicate it, and if I try to type the Tom over here and hit go, okay, this is someone is using this already, so I'm going to use this Tom 55666 go. So this is empty, so I'm going to use this one. So use like this and hit enter. So now if I press select start from user, so we have this user and there is 2 admin. So next thing what I'm going to do is I'm going to disable this account, that is btechdays.care. So if I move back over here to this one, and first we start the application, restart our application, and move back to this and go to the Postman, and first we will hit the login API so that we can get the actual token with the updated user email ID actually. So if I click on this once again, okay, so our application is getting started. Okay, we have some exception over here. Okay, let me just check it. Okay, so we actually did a small mistake. So if I move back to this application.properties, and here you can see this SMTOP. So you have to remove this O from here. This one is SMTP. And another mistake which we did over here. So if I move back to this user, and here we can see this, we have same dual mapping for this get all user. But if we move back over here, the name for the second query is get all admin. So we have to change this one to get all admin and press this one. So if I paste it and start the application, and this time let's check if this application starts or not. So here we can see this. Now our application started on 8081. So if I move back over here and hit the login API, so this is bad credential because we have already changed this email ID. So if I move back over here, and I'm going to copy this one and move back over here, and I'm going to paste it over here. So just send it, and we got the token. So just copy this token and move back over here to the update and move to this authentication and just paste it over here, basic auth body, and I'm going to update this one for the second user. So I'm going to actually make this one false. So for the first one, I want to disable the user account. So if I move back over here for the one, we have the status is true. It means that this one is enabled. So if I click on this, something went wrong. Why? Because I haven't set the actual password for this property. So if I move back over here to the application properties, and here you can see this simply star is set. So I'm going to set the actual password over here, and now I'm going to restart the application. So I'm going to stop it. So now I have actually set the actual password. I'm going to start the application, and our application is started. And just click on this and click on this one, and still we have some issue. So if I move back over here, let's check what actually happened. So org send mail started TLS command first. So let me check this once. Okay, so we did two mistakes. First is we have to put the same email ID over here, whatever the email ID which we have put over here in the application properties. So I'm going to copy this email ID and move back to this one and just paste it over here. Second thing, what we have to do is in the application properties, we have to put the mail over here. So this is the actual property, and we have written this one. So I'm going to just delete this one and just uncomment this, just remove the hash, and I'm going to put the actual password over here, and let's start with this. Restart my application. And if I move back over here, that is the port 8081 on which our application started, and move back over here, and I'm going to make this one true. So if I move back over here and just click on this, and here you can see this number 1, that is false. That means that account is disabled. So I'm going to enable, and right now I'm using the token with the help of this tom556666@validator.com. So if I move back over here and just send it, and you will observe it's taking time because after updating it's going to send the mail. So user status updated successfully. It means that mail is also sent. So if I move back over here and go to this one, and here you can see this account is approved. If I click on this, and here you can see this, the user btechdays.pay@gmail.com is approved by admin tom5566, and the same mail is also being sent to btechdays. So if I move back over here, you will observe that btechdays, we also have one account with btechdays. So btechdays is also an admin. So btechdays, and if I hit enter, and here you can see this, now to the btechdays also we have the same mail. So this is how it works. So that's it for this video, guys. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to design the APIs to check the token, change the password, forget password, these stuff for the user module. So till then, subscribe, hit like, and share with your friends. Thanks for watching.